Hello, welcome to the Sports Place. If you like sports and sports debates, then this is the place for you. I am joined today by one professor, one mixed martial artist, and one glorious goddess.
That's it. Glorious.
And
I didn't know it was glorious goddess. I thought it was just goddess. You put glorious.
Come on, man. We're not gonna amplify the compliment.
You put glorious in front of it. I can't support that now, bro. I can't.
Look, I didn't say glorious. He added it on to it, so he obviously thinks I'm more glorious than I do. So it's okay.
I didn't. Hey, look, I didn't have anything to do.
That's just me appreciating you, Savon. That's all.
That was Erica.
Mr. Walker.
Hey, I am who I am, and I will be who I will be.
That's
you,
what's
amen, brother.
Yo, live your truth. You know, I respect that, goddess.
It's 2021. What they be saying?
Yo, so for all 6 of the fans of the Sports Place, we have a special guest, Mr. Anthony Wint, who played professional football for the Jets. All the FIU fans certainly remember him as a linebacker who was crushing heads, and now he's crushing heads in a different way in the ring as a mixed martial artist. Anthony, thank you for coming to the Sports Place. I have a couple of questions for you, and I know that my colleagues also have some questions. First of all, you had a relatively successful career as a football player. You were playing, in the CFL. You had played in the NFL for a while. You could have continued with a football career. Why is it that you're making this career change into fighting?
Okay. Thank you. Well, first off, thank you for having me. I obviously love the game of football. Me and Savon know each other from training in Tampa together, and we've been buddies stayed connected since. And I'm going to make sure I answer this question as clearly as I can because I was on a podcast about a week ago, and that was the first question. I kid you not, it took me 2 hours to answer.
I definitely don't have that much time.
Let me just say this.
2 hours, and they kept having to realign me. Because it's a long story. Long story short, obviously I played football from a young age. I'm from Miami, where the best football is played. I wasn't good growing up. Obviously got better, as most guys do. Played at Homestead High School, played at FIU. Was fortunate enough to play in the NFL for a short period of time. And then obviously I stood there, cut from the Jets, little opportunity to play football. I had no workouts. And it's crazy how things come full circle. My agent, I'm under first round management, who represent a lot of great football players, most notably Darius Leonard, plays for the Colts, linebacker, David Njoku, just to name a few. I can name a bunch of other guys. They do very well in football, but they also do even better in mixed martial arts. They are, this is not me because I'm signed to them, they are the best in the world. They manage John Jones, Showtime Pettis, Yoel Romero, and then even if you guys don't follow mixed martial arts, these are guys that you probably obviously know. When I signed with my agent Malky, give or take 2 years ago, he mentioned this to me because I wrestled in high school, and as hard as mixed martial arts is, as broad as it is, if you wrestle and you have a grappling background, it's easier for you to transition. So, like I said, I'm gonna make the story short. I fought him very much so. When I first got cut, obviously, he wants to be sensitive to the fact I still want to play football. To this day, I still want to play football. To this day, I still train for football. But him as a businessman, as agents are businessmen, he offered me the opportunity to train in the mixed martial arts, which he did 2 years ago when I signed with him. And I denied it. I told him I'd think about it. When in my head, I was like, hey, I'm not fighting. That's not me. Denied it. He probably asked me if I had to guess maybe 15 or 12 times. And by the last time, I told him, all right, just put me in the gym. I was in that gym for 3 months. Obviously, I knew I wasn't going to dislike it because I grew up wrestling. It's the same type of environment, training, rolling around, getting sweaty. And then after 3 months, I was trying to get a fight. It was hard to get a fight. My first fight ended up being for the PFL Championship, which is an amateur league. Won that, and then now we're here, and my next fight is April 10th. So to answer how I got into it, I kind of did it grudgingly, not because I didn't want to do it, but because I knew I couldn't. Well, most people believe you can't do football and fighting at the same time. I'm actually doing it right now. Might be breaking news. I got a pro day on the 29th with my alma mater, FIU. So I've been training. I'm planning on doing a lot better than I did 2 years ago. And obviously I got to the NFL running a 4.85. So that's very slow for a linebacker. I run a lot faster than that. But I guess the issue with fighting was I knew I wanted to still play football and I wanted to fight. So I'm doing both right now, and I'm having a little bit of success with it.
Okay. Also, you got to mention your high school wrestling record real quick, though.
I got to mention it?
Yeah, talk about that high school wrestling record.
Overall, I think I was, I'm making up numbers, I was probably like 115. My senior year, I lost one match. I went 19-1. You can look it on YouTube. I lost to Tobias Baker of Sarasota. For those of you who don't know, that's in Orlando. Very close match. I lost 5-1, but it taught me a lot because we were tied 1-1 with 50 seconds left. In wrestling, that's not a lot. I could have kept it even. We could have went to overtime, but I was anxious because I knew I was better than him. I was like, I'm not, like, why am I going to overtime with this? Because he was good, but he wasn't as good as me. And I did something stupid and lost. But that was a lesson I learned in working hard and being diligent and staying in the process of winning. I got frustrated, and I'd never been in that situation before. I was kind of out of it. I was already signed to FIU, so I was already at FIU. And I was like, if I win a state title, it's whatever. If I don't, it's whatever. But after losing, it taught me that, dang, I don't like to lose. And if I don't want to lose, I got to work hard.
Well, I think we've seen a lot of people who transition, or not a lot, but a few who transition from football to fighting. Of course, Greg Hardy. There's also been Brandon Schaub. So
there's
some bigger names.
Eric Sanders. He played for Alabama. He didn't play in the NFL, but he played for Alabama. So that's how I love football by itself. He actually had a fight on the last card. He fights at 185. So, and not to cut you off, Joe Rogan. I don't know if you guys know him. I watched the podcast of his. He's like, the more popular fighting gets, the more you're going to get these athletes come in who are obviously world-class athletes. Right. Football players are some of the best athletes in the world. And when you lose opportunity, you got to find opportunity elsewhere to compete. And that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think in football, of course, it's one thing, you're part of a team, but in fighting, you can control your own destiny. You know what I mean? It's you versus that person, and you're staring them in the face. Is there any fighter that you would compare yourself to and your style to?
That's a tough question because, to be honest with you, I'm fresh in. It's hard because obviously I wrestled, and wrestling is my main thing. My last fight, I probably threw like 20 punches. I wrestled the heck out of him. I took him down, and it was, a lot of people don't know this, the last dude I fought, he played in the NFL as well. He played for Washington State, and he played for the Seahawks for a little bit.
Okay.
And he was a very good boxer. I studied him very well, but like I told you, wrestling is a big part of fighting. And if you can't grapple, I don't care if you Floyd Mayweather. If I grab you, it's over with. Like, I'm gonna put you on the ground, and now you can't punch me. You got to roll around with me. So I don't really necessarily have a style yet. I've only been in mixed martial arts for 5 months, and when I fought, I was only in it for 3 months. So it's like if I had to compare, if you had Daniel Cormier, he's a big time wrestler, Olympic wrestler. That's a guy I watch a lot. Other than that, I just really watch everyone and and like you said, that's the best thing about mixed martial arts. I got coaches, I got kickboxing coaches, I got boxing coaches, I got Muay Thai coaches. Not coaches, but I practice all these things. I got wrestling guys I look at. All these things, but at the end of the day, I got to mold myself into the type of fighter I want to be. So I guess my style is a never-ending thing, and it's kind of here, but I know 10 months from now, I'm going to fight it a whole different type of way.
Right.
So it's hard to pinpoint how I fight now because I know it's going to, probably next week, it's going to change a little bit.
Right. So you would, if given the opportunity, you would abandon fighting for football. Like you really love football more. That's your true passion.
Damn. And I guess this is why it took me so long on the other podcast, because they kept asking me the same questions. And that's another hard one to answer, because people used to ask me back in high school, because it's like I said, things come full circle. And in high school, I wrestled and I played football. Short story, if you know any football coach, if you're good at football, and I started from the 10th grade. Really, I played a lot in 9th grade, but I went from JV to varsity, and then I played a little bit. And then my 10th grade year in high school, I was the starter the whole year. So being a starter and then wrestling from 9th grade, my football coach is in my ear. Hey, I mean, you're 5'10", you play linebacker. If you want to play in the NFL, you can't wrestle. Luckily, I say lucky because I love wrestling. Luckily, my wrestling coach was the AD, and he wasn't having it. I didn't tell him that the football coach was telling me to quit, but he could tell because obviously, like, he knows the football. He knows how football works, and he knows that football is more important than wrestling, at least when it comes to Miami sports. So people used to ask me that question all the time when I was in high school, and it was hard to answer because I love wrestling because of and you guys never did. Obviously, you guys aren't wrestlers, so you don't know the environment in a wrestling room or obviously in a mixed martial arts room, but it's some of the best people ever. Like, it's like you can be yourself, and it's like, it's not as gruesome as people think. Like it's extremely fun, and then I can say, imagine football, but like times 5 because they're like everybody does the same thing, so everybody can do the same thing. In football, obviously the kickers are by themselves because all they do is kick. The quarterbacks usually getting their little clicks because all they do is throw. Offensive players hang with offensive players. Defensive player hang with defensive players. In wrestling and obviously mixed martial arts, obviously if I'm a heavyweight, I'm not going to fight a lightweight, but I can if I want to. I just have to not use strength. So you can kind of coexist with everybody because everyone is learning the same thing. Everybody's doing the same thing. So in high school, if I had to be honest, I liked wrestling a little bit more, but realistically, what you going to do? You going to go be in the Olympics? And I was from Miami, so obviously I had nobody in my ear telling me, oh, you can wrestle if you want. Most of the people saw me as a good football player, and I was like, oh, keep going, you could be in the NFL. Wrestling was never a future. Obviously, mixed martial arts wasn't really a thing back then. Well, it was, but just not as telling the kid, like, oh, you're going to be a MMA fighter. That's not something you tell a 15, 16-year-old.
Right.
So to answer your question, I know I'm going on a little bit. I don't think I have to choose. Football is something that if opportunity presents itself, I'll leave fighting for the time being. I can still practice, but I won't compete because obviously, and not to talk numbers, on the price squad, you make more money initially doing less in football than you do if I have a fight. Even in the UFC, if I have a fight in the UFC, I think the minimum in the UFC is like $10K. But you have to train for 2-3 months to get that $10K. And then you got to pay people, pay your agent. Compared to football, and a lot of people don't know this, on the price squad, you don't even have to pay your agent until you get on the active roster. So you're making, not to talk numbers, 6 figures to practice 5 days out the week. And obviously you still get hurt. It's still hard. You still might get hurt. But the anxiety and the pressure on yourself is a lot less. Not saying I'm trying to take the easy way out, but it's a no-brainer when it comes to tax on your body and then just mental capacity. And then obviously I can still, on the practice squad, still work on my boxing, still work on all these other things while I focus on football, but kind of put fighting to the side. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No,
So that's the goal right now. That's why I'm doing my pro day. I want to get on the team and then obviously push fighting to the side for a little bit. But if that doesn't happen, I know I'm capable of being a great fighter, a really good fighter.
Time out though. Also, going back, I heard you say you ran a what on pro day?
Come on, bro. And you talking about what you ran? What did you run?
I want you to say she ran because you don't feel bad, but when you heard what I ran.
Well, you got to
run fast.
He's a goddess, and he just floated.
I ran a 4.89.
But you know I was slow, man.
Nah, but you ran like a 4.6 when we was in Tampa.
I didn't. The fastest I ran was 4.72. I don't know why I ran a 4.85, man. I ran super slow. I bench pressed. You don't want to know why I bench pressed. I bench pressed 17 times. When we was in Tampa, and that's why you see how he's looking. When we was in Tampa, I bench pressed, I think my high was like 20, 21, 22.
We was working.
So it was just a bad day, and that's kind of the problem. Not the problem with pro day. It's like, if I had to compare it to non-athletes, it's like being in high school for 12 years, studying, people know you smart, all that, and then you get to your SAT and you flunk
it.
Yeah.
That's a great comparison right there. I never heard anybody put it like that.
That's the analogy I can make. And all these colleges, let's call them colleges, all these colleges are watching you from when you were in the 7th grade. They're like, oh, he's a pretty smart kid. He's going to do good on the SAT. And you go out there and you have below average scores. And they're like, okay, we can't accept you in our school. Like, luckily, the Jets looked past my scores and said, okay, you're a good football player. We're going to give you an opportunity. I ended up being on a rookie mini camp. And I think, Saban, did you have rookie mini camp too, or did you get signed?
I had got signed.
So I didn't even get signed. There's obviously the draft. There's priority free agents, the guys who get signed to get a bunch of money. I think it's sometimes guys get 100K. Like they get more than guys who get drafted. And then there's free agents. And this is all after the draft, 2-3 days after the draft. I got a rookie mini camp, which was the Jets calling me, and I don't know if they do it anymore. They take 40 guys, the 10 or so guys they drafted, the undrafted free agents, and then they take those guys and they take them through a practice for 3 days. I was one of the guys who wasn't signed yet, so I'm not on contract. I don't get paid. And they took me through the 3-day practice, and afterwards, they signed me. That doesn't happen very often. So I'm a firm believer in God. I think God said, hey, you faster than the 485. I'm going to give you this opportunity, and don't shit on it. I'm God and cursing, but you get what I'm saying? Like, hey, you were
kind of like
enough.
Kirk Franklin right now.
Yeah. I'm very involved in the church too, so I'm gonna bring up God a lot. But yeah, he gave me the opportunity. He was like, don't mess this up, because obviously you didn't perform well. I'm gonna give you another opportunity, and that's what he gave me. I ran with it, and obviously I was able to be with the Jets for 2 years, and hopefully get back in the NFL after my pro day.
And I also think that there's a thing called game speed too.
Yeah,
no, 100%.
Not even because I watched Went play. Like I watched this film. Like we played each other in college. Actually, like when we played FIU at Maryland. We're not gonna talk about what happened in those games. But
yeah, chill out. I know that's why I had to stop you. Chill out.
But I'm not gonna we gonna go into no details. But watch him as a player. He's an all-conference player. Like he reminds me of Jermaine. If you know how Jermaine plays, they play the same way. He was just a little smaller than me. But at the same time, it's like I feel like football, it's all about being a dog. And they don't notice that dog, they notice the numbers. It ain't about how good you are in game or your lateral speed on the field and where you get to the sideline to sideline. It's about where you run your 40, your L drill, all the other stuff, which doesn't matter. Like I said, it's politics. But if they actually turn the film, you will see so many dudes get the opportunity they really need.
You know, I think that's one of the things that you see in a lot of cases with some of of course, us doing this show, I pay attention to Todd McShay and to Mel Kiper and all those guys. And, they talk about this guy has this guy has that, and you go to you watch the combine and you see them literally got guys in their drawers and they're sitting there touching their muscles and all that. And I'm like, some people can just play the game. Like, it's not about, this guy's 40 is slower than I thought it was going to be. I mean, I look at someone like Emmitt Smith. I don't think he was some sort of speed demon. And you look at someone like a Jerry Rice was never the fastest receiver, but game speed. You know what I mean? Like there was something about him cutting out of those routes that made him, successful in the NFL. And then you got these guys who run 4.2s and all of that. And, they're out of the league real quickly.
And just to piggyback off of basically what both of you guys were saying, I agree with you, Savon, but at the same time, I understand that the NFL is a business. And like we made that analogy with school and college, you can make the analogy with NFL and the business. If I'm running a business and obviously I can look at all these intangibles and be like, okay, this person's smart. I know them personally. A lot of people vouch for them, and they don't necessarily have the credentials. They don't have the degrees. They don't have I don't know what else you can say. Like their numbers don't match. They haven't worked for the big company, so I can't necessarily hire them. And I almost have to put my job on the line to hire. Because this person, if I come off the street and I say, man, I've interviewed this guy for 30 minutes and I know he'll do great, but he hasn't been to college and he doesn't work out. Now my boss is looking at me because everybody has a boss. My boss is like, I mean, what are you doing? Why we hire this guy? We just wasted our time. So I guess that's where the NFL Combine comes into play. That's where
the safety net in a way.
Yeah, and it's hard to take it personal, but it's an unpersonal thing because it almost validates that, hey, I can put my job on the line for you because you run this number. If you don't pan out, I can look at my boss and say, I mean, he sucks, but the man ran a 4.3. What you want me to do?
Right. and where else? Also, would say that the other thing is, like you were saying, that Ant did a good job when he was playing in Tampa. You've seen him put up 22 on the bench, and you've seen him, running a 4.6 and all of that. The other question is, can you show up in big moments in the NFL combine is a big moment. You know what I mean? So like they don't want you to be in the playoffs and it's a big play and all of a sudden, you know, an Ant is the, you know, the Sam linebacker and, you know, somebody burns him because he just got lost in the moment. So you got to show up, you know, when the lights are on too. There's like, you know, even in fighting.
That I had to learn about constantly putting that pressure on myself. And that's something fighting has helped me with because, and just circling back to fighting, there's no other pressure like that. Obviously, I played in the NFL. I didn't get to play very many defensive snaps, but just playing on special teams when the game is on the line, there's a lot of pressure. That is not even a fraction to where it compares to being in a cage with another person and knowing that you got 500 plus people. That's all I had, 500 people watching you, and you're either going to lose or you're going to win. And there's no other variables that come with it. Like there's no excuses I can make. Yeah. So I think if I take that mentality that I got from fighting and kind of transfer it back to football when I get there, it'll make me a better player because Saban knows that's what coaches preach. They preach winning your one-on-ones, doing your job, and just obviously it's 11 on 11, but you have a job to do and get it done at all costs. So I think that's a mentality not that I've learned only from fighting, but learning from my failures and learning that, yeah, I could have made excuses for a lot of things. When I got cut, I was a little bit hurt. Obviously, they brought other guys in. I didn't think they too much believed in me. Like Saban said, that's why I said I have to disagree with you, politics and favoritism. But if you handle what you got to handle and you do everything you got to do, the uncontrollables are going to handle themselves. So I think that's something I learned from fighting, that if you control what you got to control and do it to the best of your ability, there's really nothing you can complain about.
That's all for this episode of Sports Plays. Be sure to hit like and subscribe below. If you have any questions that you think we should ask or we should debate, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.